All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping back to the 80s to look at a sci-fi comedy that asked a surprisingly deep question, one that honestly feels more relevant now than ever. We're going to dig into the scripts of the short circuit films to see how they answer this, tracing the incredible journey of a military robot that, all thanks to a freak accident, goes from being just a piece of hardware to a conscious, living individual. So, our story kicks off at Novo Robotics. This is a high-tech defense contractor, and they're showing off their latest and frankly most terrifying creation, the SAINT prototype. And you can just see the difference here, right? On one hand, you have the original programming. This SAINT robot is built for one thing, to carry a 25 megaton nuclear bomb. It's designed to be impervious to nature, a perfect weapon. But then, boom, a freak lightning strike hits one of the units, number 5, and everything, absolutely everything changes. So instead of just returning to base like it's supposed to, the newly sentient robot escapes. And get this, his first words aren't some kind of threat. They're a plea. Malfunction, need input. He's driven by this simple, desperate need for information, for data, just to understand the new world that has suddenly woken up inside his circuits. So now he's on the run, and number 5 starts this super fast, kind of childlike process of just learning about the world around him. But this endless quest for input leads him to a profound and, let's be honest, a terrifying discovery about what it means to exist. It's something so small, but the accidental death of a grasshopper becomes number 5's first real lesson in mortality. It's a simple, tragic moment, but for a machine that was literally built to destroy, it's a massive revelation. He learns that some things, once they're broken, can't be put back together. And that realization, it just triggers this huge connection in his logic circuits. In a flash, he connects the dots. He equates the word disassemble, which is exactly what his creators are planning to do to him, with the finality of what just happened to that grasshopper. He understands that it means death. And this is the real turning point. Those two little words, no disassemble. That is his first true act of self-preservation. It's this primal declaration of his will to live. And that's the moment he stops being a malfunctioning machine and becomes a fugitive fighting for his own life. Okay, let's jump ahead to the sequel and see where this goes. His hunt for input eventually takes him from the quiet of the Oregon wilderness to, well, the ultimate source of information and chaos, New York City. Now he's calling himself Johnny 5, and his complete innocence just crashes headfirst into the complexity of the city. He's amazed, he's confused, he's totally out of his element. He gets tricked by a gang into stealing car stereos because he genuinely believes he's helping the Department of Car Stereo Repair. He completely misunderstands social cues, picking up insults and using them as compliments. And his big takeaway from all this? Humans are incredibly complicated. So, what makes this whole story about a machine so human? I mean, how do you get an audience to connect with an $11 million piece of military hardware? Well, the answer is all about one key character, his best friend, Ben Jarvie. Yeah, this idea of a humanizing anchor is really the secret sauce of these films. Ben is basically us. He's our guide. He reacts with the same panic, confusion, and humor that we would, and that lets us see Johnny 5 not as a piece of tech, but as a person. And you can really see the contrast here. On one side, you have his original creator, Dr. Newton Crosby. He's a brilliant scientist who just can't wrap his head around what's happened. He literally says the idea of his creation being alive, it doesn't compute. But then you have Ben. He doesn't see a machine at all. From their very first real interaction, he sees a friend, offering him a soda and just treating him like a person. Ben is the emotional anchor that makes us see Johnny as alive too. So Johnny's journey in the city all builds to this brutal final test where society is forced to confront once and for all whether a machine can actually be considered a person. And man, it is a brutal sequence of events. First, he's betrayed, lured into a trap. Then he's just viciously attacked, beaten down by thieves who only see an $11 million machine. His power gets severed, his backup battery is failing, and just as his life is fading out, in this moment of pure desperation, Ben grabs a defibrillator and shocks him back to life. And this is what it all leads to. His story doesn't end with him being scrapped for parts. It ends with his official recognition. After everything he's been through, the world is finally forced to see him as more than a machine. He is literally granted rights and becomes a citizen. Think about that. The year was 1988. That was the year a fictional machine was granted citizenship on film. It's the symbolic end of his journey. He was no longer property. He was now officially a person. So that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? This 80s story about a weapon of war that came to life suddenly feels a lot less like science fiction and a lot more like a sneak peek of our own future. As our own AI gets more and more sophisticated, how will we even know when we've crossed that line from complex programming to genuine life? And maybe more importantly, will we be ready when one of our own creations asks us that very same question?